Off the Edge. It's episode 15. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Cameron Lynch.
Woo.
And we're keeping it on, right? We're going to keep going with this NFL. We're almost done with the NFL draft class.
Almost there.
Grades. We got one more division on both sides of the conferences. We got the NFC West today, and we got the AFC West tomorrow. Before we get into that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, review wherever you're consuming this content. And just letting you know, you can follow me at JK Bogan. You can follow Cameron Lynch at Cameron Lynch 50 and follow the show at Off the Edge Show on Twitter. BetOnline is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines and the latest matchup reports for this year's NBA playoffs. BetOnline is your sports intel headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your insider sports wagering needs. From basketball, MLB, NHL, golf, to UFC and boxing, the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games, available to play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code Bleav to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Cam, we're going to start alphabetical here. We're going to go with the team with the most bland uniforms that you could have. Literally looked like they copied and pasted the Utah uniforms, the Arizona Cardinals. Sorry, fan base. I know you guys are feeling the same thing. I don't mean any disrespect towards the Cardinals fans, but let's be honest, though. Your uniforms are about as bland as basically flavored whey powder.
Hey, if they win games, it's gonna be some good whey powder, Jake. It's gonna be a good whey powder. So all good on the jersey release for the Cardinals. But hey, like we said, they got to win some football games for that jersey, right, to have some hold some weight.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know how many football games they're going to win this year, but I do think there are parts of this draft I actually really liked. Starting off with Paris Johnson Jr., they ended up moving down, we were really confused how things were going to go. And, the Texans trade up from 12 to go out and get and secure not only CJ Stroud with the second pick, but then the third pick, they go out and they get Will Anderson Jr. Will that end up hurting the Cardinals down the road? I don't know. But they did go out and get one of the best tackles in this draft in Paris Johnson Jr. And obviously a big thing when you're building just an offense, a team in general, is focusing inside out. I know there are a lot of teams that want to go with the flashy wide receiver. They want to go with the flashy cornerback. But we just saw the Rams, unload Jalen Ramsey. We've seen, cornerbacks getting traded lately. Stephon Gilmore going to Dallas. So I don't know if it's the changing of the guard, but when in doubt, build from the inside out.
And
that rhymed, and I didn't even try to do that. So Paris Johnson, what are your thoughts about that, Cam? Because I like the pick, and I think he's ready to go. He might have to play guard because they have Beachum at right tackle, and they got Humphreys at left.
Yeah, I mean, Paris Johnson Jr., 6'6", Jake, 310. That's a big boy, right? He blocked for CJ Stroud at Ohio State, so he's coming in with that gumption, right? That gumption, that sauce, because his quarterback got drafted at number 2 overall, so that's really cool to see. Him going to the Cardinals, he's going to block for a first pick quarterback, and so he's going to be able to transfer those skills when it comes to that importance with Kyler Murray there. Paris Johnson, we talk about just all-around player. He went 6 overall, Jake, so that just goes to show, right, how valuable he is protecting that corner there. I like Paris Johnson. I love the fact that the Cardinals traded down. And I think with this pick, it bumped their draft grade up just a little bit. You talked about building from the inside out. That bumped their draft grade up a little bit. They didn't do well last year, but they drafted well. So great pick there. And then I think, with their next pick, I love how they filled in the defensive side of the football, with B.J. Ojulari. So I love their first 2 picks there. Like I said, Paris Johnson Jr., big boy, and a true protector, true mountain man.
And I like the versatility. I think he could play tackle or guard. That's 4 positions right down the offensive line. And I think with Ojulari, he is well beyond his years. He's 20 years old. This is somebody that is just really technically sound as a pass rusher. The reason why he didn't go in the first round like some would have thought, and he went 41st, so it's not like he fell that far, but it goes back to his run defense. And I don't know if it's necessarily he can't do it, but on tape he is a little bit the motor runs a little cold in that department, I would say, for lack of a better term. So good player playing, in the SEC, just a crafty pass rusher. You don't get Will Anderson, and I think the thing about doing that is so you go out, you get Paris Johnson, he's a plug-and-play offensive lineman building, inside out. What does Will Anderson bring that B.J. Ojulari doesn't? He's a little bit more seasoned. He's older. He's got a better feel for stopping the run. I would say he's a better run defender than a pass rusher, which some people might fight me on, but that's how I saw him, and that does not mean a bad thing. So I think that's what happens, though, when you kind of, I'm not going to take a pass rusher here, but I can get one in the second. You run the risk of, you might drop off a little bit in the run defense department. Maybe this guy is a little bit more of this, more of that. Maybe he's not as seasoned, whatever. I still thought it was a good pick, and I thought that's where he should have gone. Garrett Williams, you and I both love this guy. He went to Syracuse. You're rocking the Syracuse polo or the shirt. I can't tell if that's polo or not. But Garrett Williams is very interesting because he's not the most athletic corner, but I don't really care because I think this guy can start day one as long as the injuries check out, and I think that's the big knock against him. When I watch Garrett Williams, the guy isn't the fastest guy on the field. He's not the most physical, but he's always at the hip pocket of receivers. Okay, he can play deep down the field. He's smart enough to play in zone. So I think the Cardinals having him, having guys like Marco Wilson, I think he's going to fit right into that cornerback room. I think he has a chance to start right away. And then Michael Wilson, in addition to that, the Stanford wide receiver who, let's be honest, his tape is really good. It's the injuries, man. It's the injuries with him. But maybe a little high for the risk. 94th overall, but I like the guy a lot. And, if he pans out and stays healthy, we're talking about a really, really good player.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, no risk it, no biscuit. When it comes to Mr. Wilson, playing wide receiver from Stanford, he has that captain on his jersey. So when you see a captain step in the mix, Jake, I might as well risk it. If you watch his tape, Jake, the first thing that pops up is the nasty catch over UCF. He just pretty much comes over top of someone's nugget, right, and snags a touchdown. So I thought that stood out, and that was really cool. We talk about the above the rim ability to play. He is an above the rim player, right? When you throw the ball in the end zone, the red zone, just throw it up because he's going to go and snag it and bring it down. He has a whole bunch. You just look at his tape, Jake. He's a whole bunch of nasty touchdown snags. So a guy like Wilson, I'm activating him in the red zone, right? Kyler Murray, figure out how to scramble and find a guy like Wilson to throw the ball up to. And then going back up a little bit, you talk about Garrett Wilson, Syracuse guy, via PPF, right? He had no flags the past 2 seasons. And we've talked about this, Jake. We talked about in our guy segment, he was my guy. And the fact that he allowed 0 flags, 0 penalties, that just goes to his discipline. That goes to his ability to be in the right position at all times and being a smart football player. The Cardinals need a guy like this. Cardinals need a smart football player that can go up and make plays, defend the pass, create interceptions, and just be smart. They need smart players. I know with Budda Baker, I'm not sure if he's going to be there, what that looks like. So, adding someone like this on the outside at Arsenal is awesome. And then going to B.J. Ojulari, we talk about the speed. He looks like a receiver that is now playing defensive end, the way he comes off the edge with BJ. You also mentioned the ability to stop the run. He has to work on that. And I do think maybe, get in the weight room a little bit, right? Do some squats and figure out how to really anchor down. I think he'll get better at that when he goes to the Cardinals. But B.J. Ojulari, that's just true speed, sack master, quarterback sack master coming off the edge. So I love that pick there from LSU and B.J. Ojulari. And then, Jake, I know we're going to get down a little bit, but I'm excited to talk about some of the other picks that the Cardinals got as well.
Yeah, Papo's another one of your guys. I thought Cottrell Clark was a solid pick. Stills was a solid pick. Has, I think, a brother or two in the NFL currently. And then you look at John Gaines, who's just very intelligent guy out of UCLA. His coaches rave about his intelligence, can play tackle, guard, center. Really just, the man's very versatile. He has a chance to start day one at center, I think. I think there's a chance they drafted day one center, in the fourth round. But the one that fascinates me the most is, I Bleav, another one of your guys, Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity here for Mr. Tune, as you called him, because do not give this starting job to Colt McCoy just yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Kyler Murray, according to Ian Rappaport, basically he said during the offseason, the expectation is Kyler Murray could miss half the year. And with that being said, getting Clayton Tune, I don't care if it was the fifth round. We've seen guys before, I'll never forget, not a fifth round pick, third round pick, but there was a guy by the name of Russell Wilson who was brought in to back up a certain guy by the name of Matt Flynn, who literally got paid more money than, well, I'll ever see. But just how much money he got paid for legitimately like one game where he threw 6 touchdowns for the Packers. He gets paid all that money. He's the starter. Everybody's saying, oh, yeah. Well, not so fast. Russell Wilson comes in. He's just outright better. And so the Seahawks are like, we wasted a lot of money on Matt Flynn, but we're going to pretend we're already paying Russell Wilson that. So that'll make us feel better. So, never rule out any draft pick at quarterback because, like, Tune, I don't think is NFL ready by any stretch, but they're not in a position where they can be like, yeah, he's not NFL ready. Like, if he looks better than Colt McCoy, if he offers more, he needs to play. And I'm not saying put him in right now, but you got Driscoll, you got Bleav. There's not anybody, like, there's not a Jacoby Brissett in this room where I'm like, he's got no, like, I think Colt McCoy is a very solid backup, okay? But there's not one guy there that I'm like, I don't think Tune's going to get a chance. I really think Tune is on the same level as guys like David Bleav, Jeff Driscoll. He just doesn't have that experience yet. But let's just wait and see because he's a guy in the preseason that could emerge, and maybe he's your week one starter with Kyler Murray on the pine.
Yeah, Jake, I love it. Clayton Tune, he talked about being a guy, the Russell Wilson connection. I love it, him wearing that number 3. And I don't know if it's because he's wearing 3 when you watch his films like, ooh, Russell. But just the way we always talk about it. When we talk about Tune, the way he moves, the way he operates, the way he runs the football, the way he operates the RPO system. I think for the Cardinals, he will be the Cardinals preseason MVP. I said this about Sean Tucker, John. My little bias about Sean Tucker with the Buccaneers once he's healthy, but I thought he was going to be the preseason MVP. But when it comes to Tune, I think for the Cardinals, I'm going to call it, he will be their preseason MVP. I think he'll be the talk of the town, similar to how kind of Taylor Heineke got that buzz when he entered the game against the Buccaneers and give them run for their money. I think Clayton Tune will be that type of quarterback where people will be like, hey, who is this guy, right? And when you turn on this tape, he's the person at Houston who's throwing a Tank Dell, right? We talked about Tank Dell. He's not Tank Dell's now at the Texans. C.J. Stroud brought him on up, but Clayton Tune was throwing to him. And so I think he'll have that same success in the NFL. And 5th round, it's a little, low-key. Jake is kind of towards the end, as nobody's really paying attention. But I think he will be one of the bigger guys coming out of this draft. And then going back up to John Gaines, Jake, UCLA. I have a Shaq Mason comp for him, the way he moves. I know he's going to be playing. He's probably going to be playing center, but I train with Shaq Mason, the way he runs, the way he gets around the corner on pulls and pitches. I love him there. But, going back to Clayton Tune, Jake, I'm super excited to see him play.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this draft, I'm going to give it a solid B. I don't think it was anything like super, unbelievable, but I think it has a chance to be really good. I mean, Paris Johnson Jr., he's a starter day one. B.J. Ojulari, starter day one. Michael Wilson, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a very good receiver. Garrett Williams, I'll give it a B+ because John Gaines might start at center. Clayton Tune might start at quarterback. Look, he might start at quarterback again if you're just tuning in. Kyler Murray might miss half the year. So I'm not saying he's starting over Kyler, but he could make that whole situation kind of interesting. And then Owen Papo, Cottrell Clark.
Yeah.
I like that they got better on the outside at corner. And Cottrell Clark is interesting because he might have to be an outside guy. He might not be able to play in the slot. Didn't look great in the slot on tape. I thought he was more somebody that, could play on the outside. He's, really aggressive at the catch point, and he ran a 4.4. So, he's got the long speed to carry guys up the seam, and he's got the long speed also to carry guys on the boundary. But I just found that, there were sometimes he would get hung up in traffic and, in redirect situations. So I don't love him in the slot. But what do you think? I'm going with B+ for the Cardinals.
I like a B+ as well, Jake. And then I'm glad you finished on Clark there, because I have a Buda Baker type energy to him. When I see him play, he's his motor, right? The way he's talking, the way he's attacking. A lot of times these tunnel screens. If you see him come up and play the run and attack these tunnel screens, I'm like, oh, is that a baby Buddha, right? And so I wonder if some of these teams saw that similar energy, the way he plays. And so I would like to see what he does. I kind of had him in the nickel, Jake, right? I kind of like him being feisty, kind of beating up some of those receivers in the slot there. But we'll see. If Garrett Williams holds down that outside, he might have to jump on the inside. But I like Cottrell Clark being that baby Buda Baker.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so you're going to give him a B+ as well, Cam?
B+, yeah, for sure.
All right. So we move on to the LA Rams. And yes, full disclosure, we do cover the Rams. If you're a Rams fan, you can check us out on Bleav in Rams. But we're going to be, I'm just going to call it like it is, though. I really loved this draft. I really did. They got 14 picks. They got guys that can start right away. I mean, Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner. They got a backup quarterback in Stetson Bennett, who they really like and they feel like could fill in for Stafford in a pinch. Everyone's talking about Puka Nacua potentially filling that Robert Woods role. I think it's a little premature, actually a lot premature. You're putting a lot of pressure on a 5th-round pick there. I love the long-term potential of guys like Nick Hampton, Davis Allen, Warren McClendon Jr. I think Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, a.k.a. LT's nephew, has a chance to be really good. I think Zach Evans has starting level upside at the running back position. Desjuan Johnson was my guy, and the fact he went Mr. Irrelevant, that was so cool. I think he has a chance to make the team. I think he will make the team. So, Cam, I gave this an A+, and I know that sounds crazy, but I really loved this draft, from beginning to end. I thought not having a 1st-round pick, I thought the Rams, and you could say what you will, the Rams have a lot of needs, but they go out, first thing they do. Cam, what was the biggest issue last year? Is protecting the quarterback. So they're going to go out and get a guy who's only given up 1 sack in the last 900 snaps, didn't give up a sack last year, in Steve Avila, who has center potential because that's his natural spot, was asked to slide over to guard because he's a team guy and he's a leader and he's a captain, and he's going to plug and play right at left guard for the Rams. And then he could potentially be their center down the road. Byron Young, one of our guys, right? We talk about him a lot. I mean, I feel like we've talked about him 5 different videos, right? Definitely. But Byron Young is a day one starter. No Leonard Floyd. You have to have Byron Young at this point. Him and Michael Hoyt. And then Kobe Turner, I think, is somebody, with Greg Gaines out, A'Shawn Robinson out. A'Shawn Robinson signs after the draft. So now we know he's done. Kobe Turner might get a chance to actually slide right in there. Bennett, long-term backup, maybe with some starting level upside, played in some big games. Nick Hampton, if he gets better stopping the run, he has a chance to be a full-time starter. I think right now he's a situational pass rusher with some juice off that edge. And then you got guys like McClendon, Allen, and Nacua, who I like long-term. And Mathis was, at the end of the day, he was really a lottery ticket. But, we'll see what ends up happening there. But, yeah, Cam, I give it an A+. I'm just curious what you thought about this draft.
Yeah, Jake, I gave it an A. I didn't give it an A+ because all people are like, oh, you're biased, right? You do Bleav in Rams. But no, just for the folks that are listening, hear us out on this one. Last year, we were kicking and screaming, Jake, because the Rams were minimal depth, struggling to win football games. And when it came to leading up to the draft, we were like, hey, y'all have to win in the draft. We have to figure out how to win football games with the people that get drafted. And they went and did it, Jake. They went and did it. There was a lot of picks that they have here compared to some of the other teams, right? Like the Dolphins, they didn't have a first round pick and they only selected about 5-6 people in the draft. And it's like, But the Rams, they went hard. They went ham. Like you mentioned with Steve Avila, Jake, we talked about not causing any flags or not causing any penalties, right? We talked about that in the previous draft with Garrett at the Cardinals. Now Steve at the Rams. That's huge, Jake. The reason why I say that is because you can win or lose championships depending on what penalties you cause. And if you don't cause penalties, you might get a little bit further. But if you do, get out of here. But Steve, he's the guy that's going to be able to protect the quarterback. Like you say, he can play both sides, all-American, all everything. And then he's a captain. Going to Byron Young, another captain. So the Rams hit on one captain, and if it feel the need, it goes to the next pick. They get another captain, Byron Young, a little bit older, but my man can run. He had 10 sacks on the season in 2 years. Worked at Circle K, like we talked about, Jake. So his story is incredible. And then the pick after that, you got Kobe Turner. That's another guy who can start right away. That can help out Aaron Donald. We need people who can help out Aaron Donald right now, and these are guys who can do it. And then we talk about quarterback safety, Matthew Stafford. If folks have not watched the Rams, take a look at last year. The record wasn't great. A lot of the times because our offensive line was hurt and our quarterbacks were hurt, right? We're playing with third string quarterbacks and it didn't look great. So Stetson Bennett, another Bulldog, can go in and make some plays. Former walk-on Jake, so that's really cool. And then Warren McClendon Jr., that's another guy who can step in and make plays. So they're just hitting pick after pick. Davis Allen got a tight end who can catch the football really well. I mean, dude, they crushing. There's a lot more players that we can chat about here, Jake, but we'll be on here all day. But the Rams, I think, hit on most of their picks, close to all of their picks. The only one for me, Jake, was Nick Hampton. He's a great player. He's a baller. But the other ones I really, really like. The Nick Hampton pick, that's why I said, go ahead and give me an A rather than an A+. But a lot of these picks, great job by the Rams.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I kind of felt that way about Kobe Turner initially, and now I feel like Kobe Turner is going to be the guy that ends up being he'll be the John Johnson of this draft, because I notoriously didn't like the John Johnson pick. I had another guy that I wanted by the name of Desmond King, who wasn't half bad himself, but I think when people want like certain players, I think it's important to realize, like, if you have a certain group of players that you want, and the Rams pick out of that group, like, okay, or any of your teams pick out of that group, like, then you're like, all right, I feel good. This is kind of who I thought they would get. They're not reaching, so to speak, out of your realm. And so I just think I've come to understand more, teams have interest in different players, and Kobe Turner's really intelligent. He's another guy who, is kind of a leader, a high character guy. And, I think with Turner, it's interesting because technically, Cam, he never started. So, neither did Lucas Van Ness. And I've said that both times that I've brought it up. But, I just thought this draft was awesome. O'Shawn Mathis, like, if he pans out, and all these guys, not everybody's going to pan out, but when you have 14 picks and you draft this well, without a first round pick, there's a good chance that you're going to have half this draft at least panning out. And so I'm feeling good about it because I feel like there are roles. This is not a team like in the past. I don't know how many of these guys are starting on like the Super Bowl Rams, but this is a lot of opportunity. And I think that's going to help them because they can just get thrown right in the fire. It's different with a quarterback, right? Some quarterbacks, they're not ready. You can destroy their confidence. But I do think guys like guards being thrown into the fire, if they're ready, good. Pass rushers, good. Like, start building that confidence at a young age, early on in your career, and see if you can continue, because that's the bar you've set. Now you can crush that bar.
Yep. No, I agree. And especially with linemen as well. When it comes to injuries, those guys, like you said, you want to get them going right away because, they can last a long time, but it just takes a couple injuries for these big guys to kind of be out of commission. So you want these guys to be healthy and to be moving right along. So Rams, man, I'm just, Jake, we do the Bleav in Rams show, y'all. So I'm just praying that the Rams got better. They even got a punter, right? Riley Dixon left, so they got a punter as well. They filled their needs out. So I feel like in this draft, Jake, I feel like specialists got drafted more so than not out of the other drafts, in the past. But no, the Rams did a great job filling all their needs, and yeah, man, they're gonna be dangerous this year. I hope. We hope.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, right? There's just it's a different scenario now where you have all these guys that are unproven getting a chance to start, and in the past, it's like you talk about a Van Jefferson, second round, 57th overall. That was kind of the fourth receiver, right? He didn't really get a chance to. So these guys having bigger roles than even like Van Jefferson did, that's interesting. But
Yeah.
what else is interesting is what the 49ers decided to do with this draft. Now, mind you, they made a lot of picks. They made a lot of trades, so to speak. The first big trade was the Trey Lance trade. That's still paying out. I think this is the last year. The second one was Christian McCaffrey. And not having a fourth round in this draft definitely stings. I have gone on record saying I thought the fourth round was loaded with value. They start off the draft with Jair Brown, and I really like this pick. It's one of the best safeties in the class, in my opinion. And, I don't think you can go wrong getting a DB out of Penn State either. I actually really like this pick. I know there are some people just like tearing this draft apart, and to a degree, maybe I'm one of those people. But when I go back and I look at it, I mean, look, the Jake Moody pick bothered me. I just think that's way too early, to pick a kicker.
Yeah. After Robert Aguayo, come on, Robert Aguayo, Buccaneers, come on, y'all.
Well, also, I know this is one of the top teams in the NFL, but picks like that are how you kind of set yourself back a little bit. Maybe this will catch up with you. If it doesn't now, if not now, when? You don't want to know, right? So, I mean, to me, this is somebody that just, when I watch him, very versatile. Jair Brown, can play all over. The back end of the secondary, whether it's safety or, nickel. I think he could play on the outside as well. I think he's just another really high character guy. Feels like a Niners pick, kind of plays similar to, ex-Steelers safety Ryan Clark. I've actually seen that comparison a few times. And he's just so good in run support. And that's what you like to see. Safeties that they don't just want to be ball hawks. I mean, this guy can actually bring something else to the table. And the guy's instinctive. You like to see that in your safeties. So I think the 49ers going out and getting him, that's pretty much the type of guy that they would like for their secondary. And keep in mind, the 49ers have done a nice job with defense, drafting defense. They've done a nice job, drafting secondary guys. I mean, they got Hufanga in 2021, the 5th round, and he's turned into an absolute stud. So, you can't really, discount what they've done. And I think there's a chance that Jair Brown is their starter day one. And if so, I mean, that's pretty good to have a day one starter. You're getting, not the tail end of the 3rd round, because 87th is it in the middle? It's kind of towards the end, but not totally the end. But I like that pick. The problem was the Jake Moody pick. Kickers, it's just not a great value there,
Yeah.
And they had another 3rd round pick that I thought maybe overdrafted a little bit, but very intelligent. One of my guys, played in big games. Cameron Latu can block, can receive, make plays after the catch. He's going to go there with George Kittle, who can block, receive, make plays after the catch. And, they already have, they got Braden Willis later on in the draft, another tight end out of Oklahoma, who it's weird. I don't normally see a ton of interest when a team is linked to another player. And it's weird because he's a 7th round talent. And that's not me knocking Braden Willis. That's where he was drafted. But, oh, my God, I saw 12 tweets about how the 49ers were obsessed with Braden Willis. I mean, you would have thought this guy, they would have picked him in the 3rd round, how much they loved him. So it wasn't a shock to me when his, name came through. But I think, the name of the game there is you're going to get a safety start day one. You're helping your secondary. The kicker, they lost Robbie Gould. I understand that, for anybody that wants to come at me and say, you don't understand. No, I get it. I just think it's way too early. Cameron Latu is going to be the number 2 tight end, I think, behind Kittle. Braden Willis is going to be fascinating to see because they really like him. Luter, Darrell Luter Jr. out of South Alabama, turned heads at the Senior Bowl. We'll see what ends up happening with him, but he just felt like a Niners pick to me. Robert Beal Jr., you're getting a guy who was decently successful, at Georgia. And I know he was a top prospect, so a top recruit coming out of high school. So I think they expected more, and that's why he fell. But Ronnie Bell is another one, and D. Winters. Those are two guys. Ronnie Bell at Michigan just seems like a Niners receiver, can make plays after the catch. He'll fit in there like a glove, and he doesn't really have to get his hands dirty, for another couple of years, because there's still plenty of guys in front of him. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, last year's 3rd-round pick. They even have, Ray McLeod and, Chris Conley. So, I think a guy like Ronnie Bell has a chance to kind of sit there, learn special teams. Maybe he's a draft and stash on the practice squad. But with D. Winters, that is a very good pick. If he ends up being a starting linebacker in a year or two, or maybe he just outplays Oren Burks right out of camp, I won't be surprised, because that guy is a good football player, played for a winning program at TCU. He's a big reason that team won a lot of games last year.
Yeah, no, the fact that they got him in the 6th round, Jake, he's a captain, that's next level. The 49ers, they might be LBU, Jake. The prestige of linebackers that have walked through those hallways are next level. They might have the 2 best linebackers in the league right now. So to add him to their mix, that's a major compliment. My notes for him: he plays with his hair on fire. His hair is on fire anytime he's playing. He's a great tackler in open space, and that's the best thing that you can ask for, right? Is for your guy to tackle in open space against these fast receivers and these fast playmakers. Let his defense to a championship, Jake. Like, come on, fam. If you're the linebacker on the championship team, I want you to come over where I am. So he's gonna have to play special teams, though, Jake. With that linebacking core at the 49ers, he's gonna have to play special teams. He's gonna have to earn his way on that football field. So I love that pick. But going back to the top with Jair Brown, I thought about this, Jake. I was like, the fact that they have Hufanga back there, we talk about Troy Polamalu. He's been able to act like he's about to blitz and then go back and intercept the deep ball. Jair Brown, my man, can step into the A gap, right? Blitz the quarterback. He can pop out, create an interception. He can blitz. He can wrap. One-on-one blitzes with running backs. Even tackles, Jake, they don't stand a chance with him because he's fast, he's strong, and he can get in and out of his cut. So he's dangerous. He's dangerous in the back, being a defensive back, but he's also dangerous at the line of scrimmage. He's made a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage. You see goal line plays, Jair Brown is making them. So he's just an all-around ball player. I wouldn't go to say like a honey badger, but he has that, like, I'm a football player. No matter where you put me, I'm going to cover somebody or I'm going to go blitz. I'm going to go tackle somebody. So Jair Brown, super athletic, just like a football player. What do you say? You call him just a football player. So
yeah, just a football player. No, I agree with you. He's a really good player. I like, the football fan in me just wishes they didn't take Moody so high, and I would give a much higher grade on this draft.
Yeah.
This is tough.
Yeah, what do you have for him, Jake?
I've kind of wrestled with C+ and B- because I do feel like this draft class could have been so much better, and they had so many picks, and I feel like they got some, like, the guys that I feel really excited about. Jair Brown, okay? Latu to a degree. Like, was he in need? Not really. And did they pick him a little early? Yeah, because they have George Kittle on that roster. I like Winters a ton. I think Winters is a lot better than a 6th round pick. Luter Jr. is interesting. Beal Jr. is interesting. Also guys that, like, Beal, I wouldn't have been surprised if he didn't get drafted. Braden Willis, I had as a UDFA. Ronnie Bell, I find interesting. So I would say, looking at this draft, I'm going to say C+, because I think it's fair too, because I think Jair Brown keeps it from being a C, because he's a day one starter, and I think he's going to be really, really good. The Moody pick's just too high for a specialist, in my opinion, just too high, and it's why I can't give him a B- in good conscience. I like Latu, one of my guys, but I would have had a 4th on him, like a late 4th. Luter Jr., I felt like was, probably around a 5th rounder. So they got him where he was. There were other cornerbacks. Like, honestly, if they got Travius Hodges-Tomlinson instead of Luter, I think that would have made more sense. Yeah, I like the D Winters pick is the only thing that really has me like, whoa, okay. Like, so I'm going to stick with C+. But I have a feeling that D Winters is going to be a starter. I have a feeling like down the road, Jair Brown's going to be a starter. Jake Moody will be their starting kicker, obviously. I don't feel like Latu, Luter Jr., Robert Beal, Braden Willis, Ronnie Bell will be starters. I think Bell will be a good 3 or 4th receiver. Jalen Graham is almost as intriguing as some of the others because he fell because of his measurables, but the guy just plays faster and he's way more intelligent and way more instinctive than most of the linebackers drafted ahead of him. So with the 49ers getting a hold of him, wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being something. The 255th overall pick out of Purdue. So yeah, Cam, I'm going to stick to C+.
Yeah. Jake, I'm going to go with the C. I'm going to go with the C for the 49ers. We talk about the Braden Willis pick. We talk about the Latu pick. I feel like those are both backups, right, to Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk. So Juice is what they call him. So I think they're both backups, right? Like we got Willis, he can line up in the backfield, catch passes like Kyle. And then Latu, yeah, he's going to be back up to Kittle. So, yeah, I'm going to go C with that. We talk about like starters right away. You just listed them with Jair and Jake. Anybody else though? Are they going to start? We don't know. But with Robert Beal Jr. coming out of UGA, I like him, Jake. I like that pick. Reason why I say that is because all of his other teammates went in the first 3 rounds. So he plays hungry. Like he plays like a starved dog. Because I talk about a dog and the dog is barking behind me, but that's how he plays, Jake. That's how he plays. He knows that if he doesn't get to the ball fast enough, the other guys that got drafted will get there, right? What is it? Closed mouth doesn't eat, and so he plays like he has something to prove. So I like that pick, but yeah, overall for me, a C for the 49ers.
So we move on to the Seattle Seahawks, and it's weird because this draft looks really good, and I don't think it's going to actually harm my grade. I'm just confused what they're like. They got you get Kenneth Walker, and then you draft 2 running backs. I mean, this has got to stop, Cam. This has got to stop. Like, I mean,
he did get hurt though. He did get hurt at some point.
He did, but it's like Chris Carson. You find him in the 7th round. Let's get Rashad Penny in the 1st. I'm not saying you have to avoid taking a running back, period. But I'm saying grabbing 2 running backs every draft is getting bizarre. Drafting a running back in the first 2 rounds almost every year, it seems like, is getting a little ridiculous.
They're like, where's Marshawn at? That's what they're trying to find him, Marshawn.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Walker's an absolute star. Like, yeah. I understand the injuries, I get that, but like Charbonnet, that guy's gonna cut into Kenneth Walker's, and I don't think he should. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think Kenneth Walker's a much better running back, but I think Charbonnet, they like the way it sounds is that this might be a 50-50, carry split, and I don't know. Anyway, let's stick to the good things.
Yeah.
Devin Witherspoon is the best cornerback in this draft, bar none. Wasn't even close for me. I thought he had he actually, I compared him to Darius Slay. Thought he had kind of that swagger that Slay Ramsey had. He wasn't the tallest, but he ran a 4.3, constantly at your hip, just being a pest. When he breaks up a pass, I mean, he's talking all sorts of what. Mm-hmm. And I just think this is one of those smash mouth in your face cornerbacks that you put him, with a guy like Tariq Woolen, and you're like, oh Lord, like this is how. Oh, you have Cooper Kupp. Oh, you have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Oh, you went out and got Michael Wilson, and you think he's going to be something else. Or, oh, you're not going to trade DeAndre Hopkins or Marquise Brown. Well, good and bad news. There's no good news, actually. And the bad news is that you'll be playing Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon twice a year. So,
hey, Seahawks practice is going to be crazy. They talk about competing at that. That practice is going to be insane.
And that was the pick they got from the Russell Wilson trade, which I'll say right now, and I'll be as blunt as humanly possible. This was a stupid trade by the Broncos when it happened. Seattle knew it. They saw Geno Smith when Russell Wilson went down, and they felt comfortable about Geno Smith. I think Seattle deserves all the credit in the world for that. They fleeced the hell out of the Broncos. I won't be surprised if Russell Wilson gets benched this year. I won't be surprised if his career's over. I really won't. And I understand maybe Seattle fans watching that don't want me to say that because they still, respect Russ and all that. But also realize that I'm complimenting your team because you just got the 5th overall pick. You got the best cornerback in the draft to pair with Tariq Woolen. And this is because you decided to trade Russell Wilson at the perfect time for 3 first-round picks? I mean, what the Broncos gave up, jail, right to jail. Like we talk about, quoting different memes and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Parks and Rec, but that one guy where he's just like right to jail right away. Like that's how I feel because this is the imbalance of the NFL when you get stupid trades like these. Like when and to be fair, the Seahawks don't deserve all the credit because they did trade 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams to the Jets. So, let's be fair here.
They learned.
But they learned, exactly. So now the Broncos have to learn, right?
We're talking about them tomorrow.
Yeah, but here's the thing, okay? Witherspoon, day 1 starter. Then they get Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's not as high on my board as others, but he's very high.
Yeah.
Day 1 starting slot guy, in my opinion. You still have Lockett on the outside. You still have DK on the outside. You still have D. Eskridge to be your kind of power 4th receiver that can be utilized in the backfield and gadget guy. Just absolute dominance in the first round from the Seattle Seahawks. They didn't go quarterback, and there was a lot of talk. They were getting pictures, like the coaching staff was getting pictures with Bryce Young. They had a selfie with CJ Stroud. They had a selfie with Anthony Richardson.
That's all smoke.
It's all smoke. But at the end of the day, it's good to have those, right? Because when you have those connections, that's good for free agency and down the road. Like, we met with this kid. When we met with him, this guy was a stud. We flat out told him, like, hey, if you go into free agency, like, don't lose our number. Like, here's our number,
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah, I think that's the common misconception, Cam, because I see all the time. Actually, here's a great one. You ready for this? People are like, why is Sean McVay meeting, because it was announced that he met with Baker Mayfield. Why is he talking to Baker Mayfield? Why is that? Well, they were just on a plane, so this was never it was an unsanctioned meeting. They just happened to sit next to each other. They were talking ball, and he's like, "We're not going to have a chance to get you, but I wish you the best of luck." And then Baker Mayfield ends up on the Rams last year, right? Yeah. So you don't know, right? You don't know what these meetings are going to do, and I think Seattle did it the right way. Now here's a player that has one of the most incredible stories in the draft, and I didn't realize it until way after. Did you hear about Derek Hall? So when he was born, he was basically dead, so to speak. And now here he is, he's in the NFL.
Yeah.
What? I mean, that's not to be grim, but my guy deserves some props there.
Hey, he came to life, and he came to life with this draft, right? The Seahawks, they landed with him. Jake, Derek Hall's a baller. He's a baller. The fact you just mentioned that story, I did not know that. Someone he reminds me of, though, Jake, another great story, Byron Young, that went to the Rams. We just talked about Byron Young, the journey that he's had, right? The path. And so it seems like a lot of defensive players have some insane paths. I don't know if the offensive players have crazy stories like that, Jake, but a lot of the defensive guys do. But I love that pickup with Derek Hall. And then going back to Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jake, when he was at Ohio State, my man was more productive than Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So the fact that he was that productive there, and then now going to the Seahawks with Lockett and DK Metcalf, that's going to be dangerous. So I'm excited to see that. And then we talk about our guy, Geno Smith, Jake. I just want to take a pause real quick on Geno Smith. We mentioned it when it comes to black quarterbacks in the NFL and what that means. For him to find success, after Russell Wilson. That's a major compliment. Russell Wilson, we talked about, you said it just now, he might get benched this season, right? Who knows what that looks like? Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer. So the fact that he's the person that replaced a Hall of Famer, that is a major compliment. And also, too, going to the Seahawks side, the fact that they saw where Russell was in his career and able to move on from that, their franchise player, that's a lot, Jake. It's a lot, but they, like you said, they made the move at the right time, and it panned out. With Devin Witherspoon and Jigba, Derek Hall, these guys, those top 3 picks, they hit on every single one of them, and that's great job by them. We talked about the Seahawks defense last year. They didn't do too well, Jake. So getting a guy like Derek Hall, who has battled adversity right from birth, you mentioned it, from birth, battle adversity, and now taking his talents to Seattle, I think they're going to find a great player in him. And like I said, I mentioned Derek Hall. He just causes havoc, Jake. Strong bull rush, strong arm, strong hand. So that's a great pickup by them.
Yeah, they got it. I mean, is he ready to go right out of the box, so to speak? I mean, why not, right? Yeah. I mean, I think he could play if need be. And so, I mean, those are 3 day one starters. You could argue, I don't agree with it, but Zach Charbonnet is a day one starter. If they, he has that caliber, right? Yeah. I don't think that's how they're going to use him. But then they go out and get Anthony Bradford in the 108th pick out of LSU, who I think is a day one starter. Now you have Damian Lewis at the left guard spot, right? Really like Damian Lewis. You drafted Charles Cross in the first round of 2022. He's going to be in the left tackle spot. Abraham Lucas, a big thing last year. I think they were the first 2 the rookie tackle combination to start a playoff game. So Abraham Lucas is at right tackle. They'll grow together and everything. You got Evan Brown from Detroit. You also got Oluwatimi from Michigan, who I really like, the center. They got him in the 5th round. Yeah. He can play center or guard. But I think Phil Haynes, who is the veteran there, he was drafted in 2019. He might start at right guard, but I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Bradford kicks in there and starts day one. And so really good draft thus far. And then you look at Mike Morris, who maybe was drafted a little higher than I expected, but like his tape is interesting, man. He's not built like the stereotypical pass rusher, but he has some really good tape at times and really flashes off the screen. They got back-to-back Michigan guys, actually, him and Oluwatimi, who I really like Oluwatimi. I think he has a chance to be really good. And then they go out and they get Kenny McIntosh in the 237th pick out of Georgia. And I'll tell you right now, McIntosh reminds me of an old school running back. And now I'm saying old school and people are going to feel like ridiculous right now. But do you remember Fred Jackson? He reminds me of Fred Jackson. Like not old school, right? But like that more so. I ran a 4.6. I'm not like super blazing fast, but I can do it all. I can pass protect. I can catch, he's somebody that even though he's a 7th rounder, he's going to stick around a long time. He's not the fastest guy, but he's smart. He played at Georgia. There's a reason why he played at Georgia. There's a reason why they counted on him. And dude has a nose for the end zone, man. He has some plays on tape where you're like, man, that guy will not go down without a fight. And so, he's, again, it's weird drafting 2 running backs, but if you're going to get a running back in the 7th round, Kenny McIntosh is good value because I had him going much higher.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, for the Seahawks, I gave him an A, Jake, just because of what you just said, right? Like their floor is high. They got a champion, they got a 2-time champion as their last pick in the draft. So that's kind of insane. We talk about that running back room with Penny. Who knows what's going on with Penny, Jake, right? We're seeing this draft and we're seeing the Seahawks select 2 of them. We're like, ooh, with Penny, what's going on here? So injury.
Well, Penny went to the Eagles, so they're like just done with him altogether. But it's interesting though, Cam, because Kenneth Walker, you add Zach Charbonnet, you had Walker. DJ Dallas, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's not as bad as I thought. I mean, I guess they just let a bunch of these guys go, but it just feels weird that this is constantly the machine that they're rolling with.
Yeah, sorry, Kenneth Walker. Yes.
No, you're good. I just wanted to,
No, I appreciate that. No, I mean, they got some guys that can run the football. So I like it. They got, and what I like about it, Jake, is they're dangerous right? For a guy
Yeah.
like me, when I plan for a team like the Seahawks, when I play defense, I'm like, okay, who's their quarterback? What's their offensive line looking like? Who are their running backs and who are their receivers? They got 3 running backs that can bring some smoke. Really 4 running backs that can really bring some smoke on any team that they play on. So I think that's awesome. They got elite receivers as well that can bring some smoke to any team that they're playing against. So I just think, Jake, that they have weapons. I think they're arming themselves really well. And then we just go back to the defensive side. Or sorry, go on the offensive line side. We go Anthony Bradford at LSU playing guard. Jake, I got pancake machine on my notes here. I mean, big body, and he's looking to demolish people. Jake, he's not looking to like, okay, let me lay on you. No, he's looking to like twist and bare your neck, like under your like really
I'm gonna
like
kill
hold you.
Yeah.
Like he's like that, and I love to see that, Jake. I think when it comes to the Seahawks, they're going to need that edge, especially blocking for Geno. People are going to be coming at his head, so having a guy like that is awesome. And then going back to Oluwatimi from Michigan center, he's the best lateral movement I think I've seen so far in this draft when it comes to offensive linemen. It's the way he shuffles and the way he stays in front of people. It is kind of next level. Jake is kind of damn impressive. So I like that pick there. Seahawks, they get an A from me.
Yeah, A for me as well, Cam. I thought they did a really nice job. They understood the assignment, if you will.
There you go.
You know, but I think the running back thing is just weird. I'm not going to like decrease anything there. It's just, it's weird how they've become, that's their brand. Like, oh, Seattle's going to draft 28 running backs this year, you know, that whole thing. But they got 2 good running backs. I think having McIntosh as your 4th guy, because right now he'd be behind DJ Dallas, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good look. But, you know, one thing I want to say before we head on out of here is that with Seattle, I think they just took advantage of the fact that for whatever reason, this league has not understood that the interior offensive line is just as important as tackle. And we see every year these tackles, they go on this run, right? They like, we had 5 tackles taken in the first round, but like you can get a guy like Oluwatimi or, you know, Anthony Bradford in the 4th round, 5th round. I mean, why is a guy that is considered a pancake machine going in the 4th round? Why is he going on day 3? You know, and that's playing at LSU, playing in the SEC. Like, you know, I think that there's something up here. A guy playing the Big Ten in Oluwatimi. I mean, you know, playing these big games. So I think just Seattle took advantage of, you know, miscuts here.
Value,
you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this also to explain why we have lower grades on other teams. This is why. Like, and why we think so highly of Seattle's draft, because Seattle's draft took advantage of guys falling into their lap and value. Others really didn't. And so I think you got to give Seattle credit where credit's due. Speaking of which, you also got to give a special happy birthday to Hall of Fame running back Emmitt Smith, who deserves some credit. He turns 54 today. He started 219 games, no big deal. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, 8-time Pro Bowler, and 4-time All-Pro. He was drafted 17th overall by the Cowboys, played 13 years with them, 2 years with the Arizona Cardinals, and had almost 22,000 total yards from scrimmage and 175 total touchdowns. My man Emmitt's one of the greatest, regardless of position. And, you know, I think when I was younger, I used to say, well, he's somewhat overrated because everyone just says he's the number 1 running back. And maybe something you could say, arguably, their other running backs didn't play as long. But you can't knock Emmitt. I mean, the idea that you have almost 22,000 yards from scrimmage and 175 total touchdowns is just asinine.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you reading those numbers off is crazy. And Jake, you talked about how great he is on the field. I've heard him speak at a Legends business seminar before, Jake. So all the legends in the room, my man is crushing it in the business space too, Jake. So Emmitt Smith
can dance too.
And he can dance. There you go. Dance with the Stars. Happy birthday, Emmitt Smith. Greatness on and off the field. A legend in everybody's hearts. Happy birthday.
Just that likable dude. I remember when he showed up at a cameo on How I Met Your Mother. It's like the Super Bowl episode. Like, Emmitt Smith, please tell me who won the... Oh, was that yesterday? Oh, yeah. Well, you know, when you win them, you just kind of forget about it. Like,
yeah.
So that's going to do it. You know, this show's in the books until tomorrow. And then we'll be talking about the AFC West. Before you go, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, wherever you get this content. And you guys take care. Special thanks to betonline.ag, and we will see you guys soon. Later, folks.